And boom, according to that, I am live. Welcome. This is Tokyo Tonight. My name is Yuko Simon. It's 10:30 p.m. Japan Standard Time, Sunday, as it is most weeks. Last week was an exception. I was going away camping, which led to some interesting things, which I will talk a little bit about tonight. But first of all, apologies. I didn't set this up. Normally, I set this up an hour before because I'm told that YouTube doesn't send proper notifications to people if I set it up less than an hour before the stream, and I set this up like 30 minutes before. So some people might have missed the notification. That said, thanks to everyone who's joining. I'm sharing this, of course, on Facebook and Twitter as usual, as well as setting this up. But back at our regular Bat Time and Bat channel, good to see we've already got like 6 people in the chat, including, let's check it out, we've got Cobra Tenchi first in the chat, first to be on screen. Congratulations, good to see you as always. Our man from Germany, good morning, I believe, this time of day over there. And our man from Finland, we've got Yoni, good to have you in here. Moi, I don't know what that means, but you're saying it's pronounced like in Japanese, and I guess that might mean hello in Finnish or something like that. Good to see him. Yoni, as always. We've got Andrew Branchflower, who may have walked out after finding out that Victor isn't here. Victor is here once a month. We're doing once a month. Victor's easing back into it's like Alcoholics Anonymous in reverse, rather than stopping. We're building it up. But yeah, we're getting back into streaming Anonymous, and Victor. Yeah, it's great to have him back. It was really fun to do both see him for the Jimmy Carr and to do a stream with him last week. It was actually really fun. And we've been, I don't know, I've been thinking as well, it'd be good to start getting guests again as well. Yeah, I mean, that was a really good format. I've seen some old 2.5 reality shows lately. So yeah, it's always just time, but he'll be back soon, so that will be good. But in any case, hang around, Andrew Branchflower. The water's fine, the crowd are fun to interact with. And yeah, I'm just going to sit here and talk to myself about all the things that happened this week. So good to have you in the chat. We've got Chris Lane, Venturi 3D, konbanwa. Good to see you indeed. Konbanwa, right back at you. Respectfully, Hokono yaji wa tekitsu, of course. Not here at the moment. Who else we got in here? We got Yoni. So moi, everyone, pronounce the Japanese way. I assume that means hello. I hope that's it, but moi indeed, if that's what it means. We've got Quinn Raggett. Good to see you in here. Moi is a northern German dialect for hello. Okay, or moin. I see, so it's like Finnish. That's interesting. Maybe there's some Finns in there. Anyway, Quentin Rankin, good to see you in here as always. We've got Lara back again. Good to see you in the chat. We've got Lewis. Greetings from Portugal. Como vai? I know, well, all the Portuguese I know, which isn't very much, is from Brazilians. I don't know if that applies in Portugal as well, but there we go. Moi, I like it. That's easy to remember. So, of course, I mean, hey, Swedish. I mean, the Vikings did all sorts of terrible things to people in the UK, so we speak, so the language is familiar. But Finnish people are not, so not as familiar. But Moi, good to have you in there. Thank you for sharing that. We've got Sadiq, a man from Florida. Good to see you. Good morning to Aaron. Glad that you could make it. Wonderful to see you in the chat. Tudo bem, says Lewis. Tudo bem indeed. Como vai? Muito legal. So yes, I do love. Actually, yeah, Portuguese is a great sounding language. I think it's one of like the best sounding languages. Actually, again, I'm a big fan of Brazilian Portuguese. No offense, but Portuguese food is amazing, and the language is awesome. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. 2 people from Florida. There we go, Chris Lane and Sadiq. So yeah, there we go. Good to see. Oh no, this could be becoming like a Florida show. I'm all good with that because in Florida, they launched these. This is a rocket. Don't get any ideas. This is United Launch Alliance. This is the Vulcan Centaur. Just had its first successful launch, flawless, no taking turns exploding rockets. And yeah, this is like one of the most exciting things happening in space travel at the moment. So yeah, I'm like, when I saw that they were selling these and like cheap, I ordered one from the US. Like UPS delivered it. And it was a bit of a fuss to pick it up, but yeah, they even sent me like this awesome rocket-shaped pen where I don't know, you can change the colors. I don't know, but I love that. I have a rocket, another rocket. I've got the neutron rocket. I think I've got a Starship around here somewhere. It's actually packed away at the moment, but yeah. Okay, there we go. Tudo legal is more Brazilian. Well, there we go. Because Brazilian people told me. I don't know. I've learned in any language when drinking, learning how to say cool. can get you quite a long way. Like, you say yes if you understand, and it's yes, and no if you understand, if it's no. And if you don't understand, you just say tudo legal in Brazil, which is everything's cool. But yeah, I guess I've got to learn the equivalents for that in all of your languages. So that'd be pretty cool anyway. But yeah. So apologies for speaking Brazilian Portuguese. Well, not really, but we try. Orlando, there we go. We have it's becoming a Florida podcast. I feel like I need like an alligator in the background or something. So yeah, cool to see people here in the chat hanging out. We got Eric Bailey. How could I start? I didn't start without you, Eric. We were waiting for you. Now that you're here, now we will start. This is just banter. Nothing's. I was literally talking about alligators. So come on, give me a break. By the way, I'm wearing. Yesterday, I went to watch my the Auckland, New Zealand rugby team actually did a tour. They played 2 matches last week and this week. They played yesterday against Yokohama, and the week before that against the Tokyo Sun Goliath. Massacred both of them. It was fun for me to watch. It was fun to watch my old team running around playing a Harlem Globetrotters show, more or less. I mean, they really were. They were playing some spectacular looking rugby. Some of the coolest tries I've ever seen in my life, actually. Last week, there was a really cool one, pass behind the back, volleyball punch, catch and score try in the corner. And there was like a flying like kick on the dead ball line. It was amazing yesterday. So yeah, I got a flag from the game. They were handing them out, and I grabbed that. I got a bunch of selfies. If you follow my Instagram, you can see I got a bunch of selfies with some of the Auckland team. They came up as the, was it Corey Evans? He actually jumped up into the stadium. His girlfriend was like sitting behind me, as was another New Zealand rugby legend. The equivalent of our quarterback for American football. We call him a fly half in rugby, and the New Zealand fly half, the best player in the world, was sitting a few rows behind me. And also the girlfriend of one of the players was there. And this guy jumped over and came up and kissed his girlfriend in the stands after the game. I mean, everyone was having a very good time. But and she was lovely. She actually called. She saw that I wanted to get a photo, and she called me over and said, Corey, take a photo with these guys. So I had a wonderful day anyway. And so I've got all my blue stuff at the moment. So big day for me anyway. Traveling Gabriel from Arizona. Did I say hello to Kustos? I don't think. Hey, Kustos, good to see you. Welcome to the chat. We've got Traveling Gabriel checking in from Arizona. Good to see you. Take your sinuses to Arizona. I think there was a con, wasn't it? Everyone went there and got terrible hay fever, from what I understand from some accounts. But it was always the belief that you go to like a desert area and it's good if you have allergies. Yeah, hottest state possibly in the world, from what I've heard. What else we got in here? Fort Lauderdale. We got JAXA. Oh, that's right, the Japanese Space Agency, indeed. Aaron is shocked that I didn't go to Taylor Swift. I know a lot of people who went to Taylor Swift. The person who sits next to me at work went to Taylor Swift, and by all accounts, it was awesome. I mean, I live very close to Coolraquan, actually, so I could almost throw a rock. I'm sure I'd get into a lot of trouble if I did, but I could probably just about hit the stadium. So yeah, don't throw rocks, especially when Taylor Swift is playing. But yeah, apparently the show was spectacular. I did not go. I was doing other stuff, which I'll talk about in a moment. But yeah, it's been an interesting week. In 3 weeks, Yokohama Arena Baby Metal. I'm sure that'd be a great show. Yoni loves the pen. I like the pen too. There was like hats, and I had to have this. It is pretty nerdy, right? It's like yes, and it stands. I mean, it's functional and it's artistic at the same time. What more could you ask for from nerdy space paraphernalia? Seriously, check it out. The ULA site, the United Launch Alliance website, their shop is wonderful. SpaceX, Blue Origin, please take notes. Seriously, like your rockets are good, but ULA has it all over you with the swag. It stands. It does indeed. It doesn't actually take off. Although, you know what? Since these all sort of spring. Oh, look at that. It even flies. Whoops. And if you're really good, it even lands. So there you go. I mean, that's a pen. If you've seen The Wolf of Wall Street, sell me this pen. I think I might already qualify to work for what is it, Oakmont. I should be selling penny stocks or something, I guess. Aaron hasn't heard the phrase "holy moly" in forever. Holy moly! We should be bringing it back. We should bring it back and take credit for it on this podcast here and now. I have a small pen and a big rocket. I don't know what you're getting at, but yeah, space equipment all good. It's not the size that matters, although it is kind of important. Stratton, Stratton Oakmont. I love that somebody can pull the name right away. Thank you. That's where I should be working. I should apply. So we're 10 minutes in. As always, I've actually been spending this week sorting out my DJing, my music and everything on the app. Right now, the iPad is a mess. It doesn't sync across devices. It's all on my phone. I prefer doing on the iPad and it's easier to film or to record. But actually for the after party stream, the music is really, really well sorted out. So actually it's going to be pretty cool. So if you want to hang around in an hour, if you just want some background music or whatever, I have that. It's going to be really, really fun. And yeah, let's dive into the topics for this week. Holy linguistics. How could that have happened? Indeed. When it comes to I'm sorry, I have to read this. Oh, Michael Gillen Peckett, welcome to the chat. Good to have you in here. I have the full Picard. We have to get Hiko into space. Damn straight. Get me into space. Yes, indeed. I know all the cool lingo kids use nowadays. Well, we're cool. Don't worry. We're cool. We're cool. It's sweet. We got John Carlo Lanoy from Philippines. Good to have you in here, joining the chat as usual. We've got a party going here at the moment. I see we have 16 concurrent viewers and 5 likes, which makes me feel slightly liked. So thank you for that. Remember, I don't put ads on this. I don't monetize this. I do this literally just for peanuts, squirrels to chase, and likes. So appreciate the likes if you've got them. And let's just see what's been happening this week. Pick up. I'm more of a Star Wars person myself, but I do acknowledge that it would probably be, yes, I'll make it so. Why not? Perhaps I should do that, yes. See, if they're in likes, it's a rule. Everybody has to like, so please do that. Peanuts, okay, I'll take peanuts instead of likes if that's what's on offer. Let's jump in. So, yeah, I was sort of rushing through this a little bit as again, I've been offline a bit this week, but it's always fun to catch up. I just saw these just tonight when I was going through. There are these $349 smart glasses, which are basically Google Glass. They basically have a little heads-up display where they project inside the glasses and they actually show information. Not necessarily that, I mean, the sizzle reel, the promo for it looks spectacular. But this is it. I don't want a camera. I don't want like VR or anything like that. I want something that I can wear when I'm running that can show pop-up. It can show me in a heads-up display my running stats, my time, and maps, and it can tell me turn left or right, and I can just go running like orienteering through Tokyo. That's what I want. So this one isn't quite that. The display has that, but it basically has a little mini pinhole camera, which where's all the text? Okay, this is showing up weird on my mobile phone, but in any case, it has a little pinhole camera and it just tells you, it has like an AI thing that tells you information about what you're looking at. It can translate signs, it can, which can be cool. It can, tell you about objects and stuff. But I love that these smart glasses are moving in the direction of, I mean, I don't need the full black mirror. I don't want contact lenses or anything. I just want glasses I can put on and take off, but that are comfortable and light enough. This is only 40 grams. Apparently the Google Glass weighed 600 grams and this can do better than that. So yeah. Apple Vision Pro, we're getting to it, Sadiq. Yes, I also have been watching that. And while I'm not really convinced to go and spend what really is, I say $3,500, but for everything that you have to get to basically have one in your house, you have to spend more than $4,000 US to get one, which was ridiculous until I saw that the DJing app, which I use on this show, there is an Apple Vision Pro version, like virtual reality, full surround studio, virtual studio, and it showed people DJing on it. I was like, oh my God, I would love to do that for this live stream, like to show my virtual environment and set all of that up. So I was like, oh geez, it's only available in America right now, but for that kind of an app, I would consider actually getting a VR headset. I'm not, $4,000 still seems a little bit excessive, but I'm very excited about the future if that is the sort of thing that it has anyway. Another thing that was just cool, apparently Disney is re-releasing episode 1, The Phantom Menace, in May. They're re-releasing it in theaters, which reflects, I think, I don't know, anyone who has a kid has probably watched and rewatched all the prequels at least, and certainly all the sequels as well that followed that. But yeah, having watched each one of the prequels like a million times with my son, yes, the flaws of the Phantom Menace are well known and well documented. I think it's, the Red Shoe Diaries channel has this amazing 2-hour breakdown of why the Phantom Menace sucks. I think fundamentally the thing about The Phantom Menace is not that it's a crap movie. If you look at Star Wars, I mean, the story's kind of corny in Star Wars as well. And I say that as a huge Star Wars nerd fan. It's just we enjoyed it because we were kids when we watched it, and kids like basic stories. They don't care. Hey, isn't he kissing his sister? Well, we don't know that yet at that point. But yes, Empire gets dark. I don't think that's a spoiler at this point. But yeah, I think everybody was basically, when they were angry at Phantom Menace, here's something deep for you. We weren't angry at the Phantom Menace. We were angry that we grew up. We were angry that we didn't experience the wonder that we experienced as children watching episode one. And yes, there are ways that you could say episode one wasn't as good as the original Star Wars movie, but at the same time, I think it was basically a bunch of grown-up Star Wars nerds who were depressed and angry before they went in to watch the movie. And if you watch it back with a level mind, it's a fun, good movie. I mean, and I think all the actors got so much hate, which they didn't deserve. One of my favorite fan theories about the Phantom Menace, which if you look at it, it's the theory that Jar Jar Binks was going to turn out to be a Sith, and that they were setting up Jar Jar Binks to be a Sith, sort of setting up as sort of a foolish character in the beginning that was going to be this huge sort of flip in the second episode. But the backlash against Jar Jar was so intense that they decided to change the plan. There's a bunch of other things. It's not that bad. So anyway, I'm glad that they're re-releasing it. Of course, it's just Disney trying to make more money, sure. But what can you do? And by the way, I've had multiple people. In fact, okay, James Ashwood, welcome to the chat. Good timing. So the Duel of the Fates on the big screen at the end. Oh, wait a minute. You mean, yes, at the end of episode 1. I mean, at episode 3 as well. The big duel scene as well is, of course, spectacular. But yeah, Darth Maul to me, the worst thing about the Phantom Menace is that Darth Maul died. Well, he didn't actually die. We now know if you watch the animated series, but Darth Maul to me is the coolest Star Wars villain, and what was his name? Jake Park or something. But I think they should have used him more. But yeah, apart from that, I think it's good to see him. I'm really glad that they're re-releasing that. I talked about that for far too long, but there you go. By the way, nice to see more people rocking into the chat. Dan H, glad that you made it. Welcome as always. So yeah, next level Tokyo tonight. Well, I won't do Tokyo tonight with the Apple Vision Pro, but I'll tell you what, I'm all about if we get some DJing tech, like with full VR environments, and I can share that environment. Hell yes, I'm going to do that. That's I assume, yeah, the price it'll have to come down. They can't keep selling them for $4,000. Although there again, when the iPhone came out at $500 and everyone said, no one will pay $500 for a phone. How much are we paying for phones now? So this could just be inflation. I don't know. Maybe we're going to get used to it, but I agree. The price will probably come down. Are they? It doesn't sound like I assume they're going to remaster it or something like that. I mean, it's Disney, Lucas Studios. I imagine they might play with the special effects a little bit. Here's something depressing. They're re-releasing The Phantom Menace because it's 25 years old now. I watched The Phantom Menace in America, 1999, in April, actually. I went to America for training for my first job ever in Japan. And yeah, I watched it at a movie theater in Chadds Ford in Pennsylvania. So there you go. I assume 25 years later, they can probably brush up some of the special effects, but I don't know. So, yeah, anyway, James Ashwood, well said. We've got more people rocking. I'm going to get back to Edu. Glad that you can make it. Great to see so many more people rocking in. 22 people in the chat, as always. The Federation were commies. Come at me, nerds. Eric Bailey, challenge accepted. Anyway, we're all friends here. Back into the chat. Yeah, we've got Michael Beckett. He liked the prequels. See, you can like the prequels and still be cool. So we've got the next topic that I've got up here is YouTube is now integrating. If you have a podcast which integrates into RSS, you can now set up your audio podcast on a podcasting service into YouTube. And if you do that, please do that and tell me, because I don't follow podcasts. I don't use podcast apps. I can only keep track of one app, but I keep track of everything in YouTube, and people who go to the trouble to make a podcast, both on their podcast and on YouTube, I'll watch it on YouTube. But if it's only on like Apple Podcasts or whatever, I don't follow it. But hopefully this will mean that I can just subscribe to a channel and pick up all the audio podcasts, and you have to set them up like with an image to be on the screen for it. But yeah, I'm really actually excited about this, that by plugging RSS feeds into YouTube, we're going to get a lot more podcast content available through YouTube, which of course I pay for the pro. So I can listen in the background when I'm out running and stuff like that. I use it basically as a video and podcast app already. So this is really great if you're into podcasts or you make podcasts, whatever. I think you should really check this out. And I'm also excited about the reverse, about setting this up as a setting up this show, for example, just where I don't have to do any stripping out the audio and editing like I did for a time, but it got to be a bit too much work. But if I could just plug this into a podcasting service and let people just listen to this as an audio, I've had people request that. And yeah, it'd be pretty cool to listen to this, just when they're driving around or whatever. So I think that would be cool. So that is a cool, welcome new feature. Space exploration stuff, ramen places closing. What else have we got? This is apparently 10 years old or 11 years old. I was corrected, although someone's forwarding it, but it's kind of a hilarious fight between two LDP politicians in front of a press conference where they're like, it's kind of lame. The guy on the right, they're both objecting to the TPP being implemented, and the guy on the right, who's actually from the Ministry of Health, Labour, Welfare, not the Agriculture Ministry, he's saying, why are you rushing to implement this when we're still debating this? They're basically getting into the sort of words that street punks sort of use, but one is like 102 and the other is like 87. It's kind of entertaining. I found that tonight. In terms of crazy stuff, I actually said this incorrectly. The Osaka governor was not advocating the whole civil service, but he was advocating that from 2027, that in Osaka, they changed the school year from starting in spring to starting in autumn, so it matches the global school year, and to make English the default language of administration at the University of Osaka, not the whole Osaka government. Osaka kind of famous for, doing kind of crazy stuff. But yeah, I mean, while I hate to be a cultural imperialist who says, oh yes, you should all just learn English, and I don't like that attitude about things. But there again, if you're Japanese, I mean, I'd be always for learning other languages, and for Osaka as well, which is kind of economically declining. Anything to sort of revitalize and get investment and so on. I mean, for example, when you consider, I mean, Osaka's got bigger problems that they should be dealing with, frankly. You think about, for example, for their startup community and their internet culture, Fukuoka has a much bigger internet startup community than Osaka does. There are more businesses and so on in Osaka. It's a bigger city, but there's various ways. They're trying, and it's an interesting gesture anyway. Interesting if anyone will go for it anyway. By the way, I've just realized, if you want to get my attention, I've got two chat windows open. So in the normal chat, which I'm now looking at in StreamYard, I can't see if you say my name. However, I can see if I turn to my right over here, where I can see the YouTube chat. And if you say my name, it will flash up orange, and I will actually try to respond to comments in orange. And I just realized I missed a whole bunch. So, I've still got to get better at this, so I apologize for that. So I see we've got Michael Peckett says, when it comes to hairstyles, I have the full Picard right. Thank you very much. Sadiq asking, have I tried Vision Pro? It's not available in Japan. It's only available in the US. So Sadiq, I have not tried it. In fact, I'm going to see if I can get these comments in sync so I can look at them at the same time. Give me a moment here. Moy derives from Moyne. Oh, that would be interesting. Northern Germany. Holy linguistics. Give us your best tea. Earl Grey. Earl Grey? God. Tea. Earl Grey. Hot. Shut up, Wesley. No, I'm not Picard. Jeez, I've got a Kiwi accent. I realized to some people it sounds the same, but it's kind of different. But Picard is Picard, but still. Apple Vision Pro. I'm trying to find Holy Linguistics. Tried it. Anyway, no, I'm confused because I'm controlling between two different screens. We've got Eric Bailey saying Star Trek all the way. Vote Quark 2024. I'm not a Star Trek fan. I don't know what that means, but there we go. Kubris Tenshi, give us your best. There we go. Yes, give us your best tea, Earl Grey, hot. Shut up, Wesley, and whatnot. Level Up Tokyo tonight. Yes, indeed. I should watch the movie Fanboys. I've seen the movie Fanboys. That's where they're trying to get to watch the Phantom Menace, right? Which they don't reveal in the movie is a huge disappointment. In fact, have I seen that? Maybe I've just seen a discussion about that. I think I've seen it. I think I've seen the movie Fanboys. Anyway, it's a good movie. Uh, Phantom Menace would be cool if it was an IMAX 3D. I agree. And Dan H. Now I'm caught up to Dan H. You found a great app called Play, Save Videos Later, from the developer Loop app, similar to MyChan for catching up with YouTube videos and channels. That's pretty cool. I actually use a plugin called PocketTube, which integrates in Chrome, and it does what MyChan did better than MyChan does for me. It lets me organize my watch later list in an order where I can watch the shortest videos first, so I can knock out more of my playlist. It lets me organize my subscriptions. But yeah, okay, Play, save videos for later. Good to know. I can also save videos because I pay for YouTube now. That's the other thing with that. That was redundant. But PocketTube, I'll write the name in the bottom. If anyone's looking for a good YouTube enhancing, you do have to pay for it. But for me, it's worth it. PocketTube. This is a fantastic app. It's actually developed by a Ukrainian guy who I think the developer was actually aware of my chat and sent me a couple of messages while I was making it as well. So yeah, I love that. I love that extension and I use it. But for everybody interested in YouTube, myself included, I'll make a note of that. Play. Thank you for the recommendation as always. The language of administration, not instruction. That's what the governor is saying. He's saying that we should be the default language of the college. I guess that qualifies as instruction. I'm not quite sure what he's saying. It's Osaka. Who knows? It could just be a joke. But yeah, Tai Nakamura, good to see you there in the chat, by the way. Ninja Monkey, glad that you can make it to another stream. And yeah, you're killing it at the moment with the streams. I really do appreciate that. And you've just made me realize you're talking about topics I want to talk about, and I'm not getting through mine at all. But what should we do? The People versus George Lucas. Yes, another one. Hit the like. Did I see the Putin interview? No, I did not. I did not. I don't want to watch Tucker Carlson or Vladimir Putin, or put them together. I must admit, I'm morbidly curious, but I haven't had time. But yeah. Well, I don't know, Aaron. Did you watch it? What did you think of it? I'm curious. Is any insight from that? Oh, now this is funny. When I was coming back from the rugby yesterday, these are a little reverse order. When I was coming back from the rugby yesterday, there was this bright colored school bus, pink school bus with like cartoon characters and little kids singing a really catchy pop song, driving around. And when I looked at the bus, I was like, where have I seen that billboard before? The billboard was the bus is covered in vanilla. And I was like, wait a minute, isn't it vanilla? I looked at the bus and then it said, Josei Muke Koshunyu Shigoto, which is basically a high income short term work for women. It's a sex worker bus advertising be a sex worker, and they advertise it with this sort of catchy pop music with little kids singing it. And I was kind of like, and you see billboards, like if you go to like love hotel districts like Shibuya or Shinjuku, like they have, you can see the billboards where not only do they advertise places where you can go, find a sex worker, but they also have, you want to be a sex worker, it's great. Call us up at Vanilla and we'll hook you up. This bus was driving around Yokohama recruiting, well, to put it in Christmassy terms, ho ho ho's. So yeah, it was kind of like, that's it. Now remember, in Japan, while there is a huge sex work industry, sex is illegal. You can in a Bill Clinton based definition of sex, you cannot have sex. Although in the sense that any rational person would define it, of course you can have it. But this bus, and it's driving around like with cartoon characters and this big bright bus, singing idol music, saying, "Hey girls, everybody become prostitutes." And I sort of turned with the people I was going to the rugby with. There was my wife and a friend of hers. And the friend was saying, "Oh yeah, they used to drive these buses around our school. Like when we were in school, all the girls in school would like sing the song because it's so catchy. We didn't really know what it meant back then." I'm like, "Really?" It's like, okay, yeah, we knew what it meant. They literally like, oh, this kind of blew. I mean, I've seen the billboards before, but I didn't realize that they actually get. And where did they find the school kids to sing the song of So I don't know. It was that was quite a thing. Aaron asking, do I prefer Western propaganda or Russian propaganda? Take your pick. I don't think Russian propaganda is the same as Western propaganda. Although I think it's a bit nihilist to see everything as being the same and meaningless. I really do think that Russia's in a doing some pretty messed up stuff. But there again, it's always good to be skeptical and seek out alternate perspectives. And I've listened to Putin talk about, his perspectives on Ukraine and everything in other interviews already. I don't feel like I need to hear more because he's just a terrible person. You just shouldn't invade and kill people for no reason. And there is no reason for it. It's not justified. So yeah, but sure, take my pick indeed. Yoni, the audacity indeed. Yeah, that was something that I saw on the way back from the rugby. There is my awesome rocket. That is the thing. Okay, now this is one of the big things I wanted to talk about this week. So boom. This. I mentioned I was going to go camping, and I went camping, and it was awesome. It was glamping. I had some friends. They said, "Hey, you want to come camping with us?" I was like, "Yeah, actually, that'd be cool." So it was we could only get rather than be in a tent because it's freezing cold. There's this campsite called Fumoto-para, which is at the foothills of Mount Fuji. It's actually quite high altitude. It's in Shizuoka Prefecture, and in addition to having actual camping grounds, and you can actually go there and get food and barbecues. Like they hook you up completely. You can just show up. They also have these like huts, which you can have, up to like 10 or 20 people or whatever. And there was a hut there, and there were a few of us, and we just sort of grabbed this particular hut, and it was like heated at gas heaters and power and everything. So it wasn't really camping. It was arguably not even glamping. Actually, it was literally just staying in a hut in the forest. But it was really cool. We got like barbecue, and it was sort of, we drove all the way down to Mount Fuji, and we got a barbecue, and had some drinks and whatever. And it was good fun. I'd heard that the weather was going to be bad on the Monday and that it might be a bit dodgy coming back. I was thinking, okay, we got to get out of there early because it might be snowing at least around Mount Fuji at the high altitude. But if we get out of there, we should be fine. However, something interesting happened. I woke up on the morning to drive back on the Monday. I'd taken the day off work, was going to drive back to Tokyo. It should be a 2-hour drive back to Tokyo. It's about 100 kilometers, but you got some back roads and whatever. Oh, by the way, one thing as well. Japan doesn't have Turo, but they have an app like Turo. When I was in America, I was using the Turo app, which is like a car sharing app where you personally share your personal car with people who, and you can make some pocket money off your car when you're not using it. Japan has the equivalent app. It's called Anycar, which is great because there's tons of cool Japanese cars that I've always wanted to drive. And I signed up for it because I love using Turo so much, although I haven't used it since I got back from America. So this was the first time to do it. And I thought, well, I said, I'll drive. Let me get a car. So I got a Jeep Wrangler, which was awesome. And it was actually turned out probably saved our lives. We got this Jeep Wrangler. We drove 2 hours down to Shizuoka. We hang out, we barbecued, and then we packed up the next morning to go out, and everything was covered in snow in the morning. I was like, okay, we better get a move on because I was seeing news from Tokyo as well, like trains were stopping and stuff like that. So I was thinking it might be touch and go for getting back. So we started driving, and the roads were covered in snow. And as I discovered when I tried leaving Mount Fuji, first of all the highways were closed, which kind of shocked me, but okay, we can still use the main road. So I tried using Route 246, Nihonroku, the main what used to be the highway, the main road that goes to Tokyo. Sure, instead of 2 hours, sure, it takes 3.5, 4 hours. But that was closed too. So we had to use back roads, and every car and truck that was going to use the highway or Nihonroku was basically forced to use the same back roads. And we're in like mountains, and they're all covered in snow and using these windy back roads. So cars kept crashing and blocking the roads. And there was like one point in the drive where for like 4 hours, we moved less than like 500 meters. And so, yeah, and so what should have been a 2-hour drive back to Tokyo turned into, we left at midday and got back at, I returned the car exactly at 6 a.m. the next day. So I drove for 18 hours in the snow, nonstop. So dropping people off back in Tokyo and returning the car. And in Tokyo, there was proper snow, by the way, on Monday. There was like deep snow. So again, having a 4-wheel drive was great. Did turn into a bit of a survival disaster movie. That said, I must say, I was hanging out with some really cool people. And as a result, we were in the car. And when we were not moving, I mean, it's awful because your foot's above, the pedals. You're moving enough that you can't just turn off the car. But not enough that you're not really driving, so your legs get really tired and everything. But I don't know where I found the energy, frankly, but I did. I survived the whole drive. It was probably the longest I've ever driven, 18 hours straight, and it was in snow. In a 4-wheel drive, it was kind of stressful. But particularly when it was stopped, like that 4-hour stretch where we weren't moving, we actually just put on the iPad and got the Bluetooth speaker that I've got here. Got this fella up and watched Disney movies. There's a whole bunch of Disney movies I haven't watched. So yeah, I watched Aladdin for the first time, and it was a good movie. I don't know, it's kind of funny. I never watched it, so watched that. I was I took a turn DJing, some people playing music in the car. I don't know. It was actually what could have been an incredibly stressful. I mean, people have ended up in murder situations, less stressful than being trapped in a car in the snow for 18 hours with other people. But actually, it was good company, so it ended up being actually quite a fun ride back, all things considered. I actually, and I had to work after I got back. So I slept for 1 hour and then I joined like a work call and I was literally hallucinating. I slept for 3 more hours. It took me a couple of days to recover, frankly, but it was fun and I still would recommend it regardless. That snow like that only happens in the Tokyo region once every 2 years. So it was kind of bad luck that it hit us the one time we go camping. But the camping ground, Fumoto-Para, is awesome. The car setup is awesome. And Fumoto-Para, and I highly recommend it. I recommend any car as well. The site where if you're a foreigner, you have to have a Japanese driver's license, and the site's all in Japanese, so there's a bit of a barrier to using it. But if you can get someone to help you, you can do it yourself. It's a really cool way of driving around. You get to drive lots of cool start cars. So I'm up for doing it again anyway. Even the kind of survival escape movie, Returning to Tokyo, actually turned out to be quite fun. So yeah, that was an interesting. That's what I was doing when when I would have been doing Tokyo Tonight last week. I got invited out to this, and it was a good time actually. It was so yeah. In spite of the cold, the place was warm and had a great barbecue and good food and everything, and it was good company. So it was good stuff in the end. In the end, but I was worried at times. Um, did I spin out? Wranglers are so light, certainly by American standards. We did not spin out. Although I tell you what, you know what? Now that you mention it, Aaron, particularly when you put it into four-wheel drive, the tires spin like with nothing. I was like, what the hell's wrong? Why are the tires spinning? But they were spinning a lot. So actually, now that you mention it, also it was the J. In America, I drove the JL, but this was the JK. It was one model earlier. So the turning circle is like nothing. It can't turn at all. And the tires spin when you do try to turn. But yeah, no. I was okay with that. Yoni, it was literally Tokyo Tonight on steroids. I mean, I wasn't talking the whole time, but it was pretty good. I don't know. It was like an 18-hour stream. I will never do an 18-hour stream, by the way. Yeah, even if you ask for it, I've now confirmed I will not do it. But it was still pretty good. I was like DJing. We were talking. It was actually good fun. We were watching good movies and stuff like that. Actually had to get out and literally pee in the forest by the road a couple of times in the middle of the traffic jam. Yeah, there was some stuff going on actually. Now that I think about it, it was a survival thing, but it was good actually. It worked out well. So that was a thing. Yes, they could have made a movie out of the drive back. Seriously, you really could make a movie out of that. Like it could be a horror movie. It could be a survival. I don't know. That's how I felt anyway. Uh, yeah. Talking about, I'm not going to get into the Putin discussion because I'm going to keep going on. But yeah, Wingstar, good to see you, Wingstar. Nice to see you as always in the chat. Hope that you're doing well. And I judoed that road trip. You betcha. That's what I do. That's how we roll. So yes, write a script. My first feature film. Maybe, maybe not. I need bears for a start. I don't know how to write for bears, but I'll try to figure that one out. Um, so yeah, if you're wondering where if you on Valentine's Day, if you're a guy in Japan, of course, Valentine's Day, as we all know by now, women are supposed to buy chocolates for men. And if you go into any department store just before this, basically from now, leading up to Valentine's Day, there are long lines of women buying chocolate. Yet a lot of men have been reporting that they have not been receiving their chocolates. And now the Mainichi newspaper, first with the story, the location of the chocolates has been discovered. The women are just buying them and eating them themselves. So I guess this is really the state of romance in Japan. Women have pretty much just given up on men and just taking care of themselves. And who could blame them? Certainly, yeah. And you know what? As a guy, yeah, why shouldn't we just buy for ourselves anyway? Whichever way it is, I think the chocolate industry is winning. But yeah, that was interesting. That would explain. I was wondering where all my chocolates were ending up, and now I know. So stop hoarding them. Anyway, the giri choco thing is ridiculous. That is true, but I mean, who really does that anymore? I don't know. I think right now the giri choco is that the girls are making chocolates at home and then just eating them. They're not even making it to the boyfriend. I mean, seriously, what can you say with chocolate that you couldn't just say with a handshake, right? So let's try. A musical drama coming to a Valentine's Day. Well, remember, we get White Day, which, by the way, is not racial, but it is the reverse, where men are supposed to get like cookies. But seriously, who wants cookies? Oh no, where men give women things back, but they give them cookies instead of chocolate. So there we go. Chris Lane, thoughts on the 6-month digital nomad visa? We talked about this last week. Is jumping out and back after 3 months not easy to get back in? Apparently, the deal is that they won't reissue a digital nomad visa for 180 days or 6 months after the first digital nomad visa, which means you could only use one once a year, which is kind of like, then people are just going to be doing visa runs, and which right now, assuming that most current digital nomads are here on tourist visas and they're snowboarding and working from Starbucks and stuff like that on their websites or their internet businesses or whatever, and you're just sort of catching up on work while traveling. I mean, that's the definition of a digital nomad. So we're trying to put them onto a visa that incentivizes them to stay in Japan longer and to invest more and participate more locally, because the government wants to attract these sorts of people. Yet they're saying after 6 months, get the hell out and don't come back. It doesn't make any sense. Like, for those people, if you want to attract those people to come here and they're already here on tourist visas and you want to make it easier for them, why would you say come here for 6 months and then don't come back, right? So I do think that part is flawed, that you can't renew or extend it. And you're sort of incentivizing non-compliance from that, or people just not to bother with the visas in the first place. I mean, it works out, right? If you have a 6-month digital nomad visa and things are going well and you want to keep working from Japan, you do 3 visa runs, right? One after 6 months, one after 9, one after 12. So 3 visa runs a year. And not that I advocate visa runs, they're illegal, of course, but you know, a lot of people do them. Whereas if you're just a tourist visa, you just do 4 visa runs. So, you know, but there again, the application process is kind of demanding. There are some benefits to having, your status is legal, you are legally allowed to work, which you're not allowed to do on a tourist visa. So you're rolling the dice working on a tourist visa. So there's that benefit, but the fact that they don't let you renew right away. Yeah. Lara was commenting a lot on this in the chat the other week. So, John Carlo, behave. Lara was commenting on this visa the other week, and she seems to be the authority on this as well. It doesn't seem to work as well, and it doesn't work the same way as it does for Korea and for Taiwan, which is one of the points of criticism. But there you go. Yeah, I think it's a good idea. I just think maybe they should look at maybe they'll see the flaws when they launch it, and hopefully it will get better. So yeah. Kind of not surprising. Apparently, like 87% of foreigners outside of urban centers just don't ever interact. Even when they have foreign neighbors, they don't interact with them, which is a little bit sad, but highlights the problems. If your dream has been to come to Japan and become an underpaid, overworked taxi driver, your dreams can now come true, because they are going to start having taxi and bus drivers' licenses are about to become multilingual. And actually, like, seriously, Japan has a driver shortage. And if your thing is, if you're like a driver and you'd like to experience driving in Japan, wow, they'll issue sample exam questions in 20 languages. And presumably, you know, you want people for whom the salary would be attractive, which would probably be a lot of other Asian countries, like, for example, Chinese, Korean, Tagalog. Well, let's say Koreans earn more than Japanese at this point, but yeah, English and Portuguese will also be covered. So there you go. You too can be a taxi driver. It's actually, and not casting shade, I think that's actually a good idea. If you want to go to a snack, don't go on a snack bar tour. It's like an elderly thing. Maybe, I don't know, but doesn't seem like much fuss. I'm not sure I'd go for that, but if you've ever wanted to go on a tour of snack bars with a guide, apparently that is a thing you can now do. Ninja Monkey asking, feel like we should be asking you these questions. What's officially allowed using temporary visitor entry? I recently read you are allowed a max of 180 days in a year. I heard that as well, but I understand that 180 days in a year is like guidance. So I suspect if like they see someone like coming in and like doing three like consecutive, they go to Korea for 6 hours and come back, they're probably going to call it out and say, you know, but as I understand, the 180 days, I don't know this, by the way. I'm not a Japanese immigration lawyer, and I'm the same as you. I'm just seeing this, or I've heard discussion of this. I've heard that this was guidance, but it's not actually like a hard law or rule. But it's more for the airport staff to sort of, if they're paying attention to the passport and they notice that this person seems to be visa running, possibly they're trying to clamp down on that, and so they're using a guideline of 180 days a year as like the limit that you can be here on a tourist visa, which I guess is 2 tourist visas. So that in itself might be a justification to actually apply for the digital nomad visa if they really start enforcing that way. It does say space out your visits to Japan if you come to Japan. Although to me it could be ridiculous. You could legitimately be here on 3 trips in a year and exceed 180 days, and be here legally and legitimately as a tourist. So the 180-day thing is arbitrary and it's not a hard rule, but they are using it as a line where they'll probably call you out at the airport and maybe take you in for extra questioning. So I would be careful. But as I understand, it's not like a new rule or anything like that. Do what Aaron says. Smash the like if you haven't done it yet. But yeah, good call indeed. You read that you could do 2 stints of 3 months, but there would need to be a 1-year break before returning. I haven't heard that. I haven't heard that at all. I've heard the rules as published, or the proposed rules for the digital nomad visas, that you have to wait 6 months before coming back for another digital nomad visa. But on tourist visas, no way. That would be ridiculous, actually. 1 year before returning, I've not heard that, but I don't know. And please don't take legal advice from the show. Check it yourselves. But yeah, I know people who come in and out. I mean, there was the case of a journalist whose blog I criticized, and he stalked me for like 5 years. His misfortune started where he was called out at the airport for doing a visa run to Korea, and he'd been coming in and out. He'd been just renewing his tourist visa like nonstop for like more than 10 years or something. So it's not, they might be changing the enforcement patterns, but there we go. I don't know exactly what the story is now, but people do get away with it. But I would say just know that you're taking a risk, and that you're not supposed to be working here or living here permanently on a temporary permit. And maybe since there are so many tourists coming here now, they're trying to pay more attention to that. But yeah, as I know, that they're not rules at the moment. A big topic this week. The government's started to put in plans where they will revoke. I'm a permanent resident in Japan, which was great. I kept having to get visa renewals every few years. And when I applied for permanent residency, I can basically live here the rest of my life without ever having to go back to immigration. I mean, I have to update my gaijin card every now and again, but my visa is like done. Unless I leave Japan for more than 12 months or something like that, it can expire if I leave Japan and I don't come back. But fundamentally, I'm a permanent resident in Japan, and if anything goes wrong or whatever, if I break the law or something like that, I'm treated more or less as a Japanese, but the deportation and the renewal risk or whatever is off me. However, the Japanese government is apparently rushing through legislation to make it so that if a permanent resident fails to pay their taxes or their national insurance, the health insurance contributions, the government, in addition to facing all the same criminal and other penalties that exist under the law for all people, you could also, the government also can revoke the permanent residency status of that person. Now, as someone, I pay my taxes, obviously, but the idea that in addition, to me, it seems disproportionate. There's a big debate as well. You break, you fuck around, you find out, right? But at the same time, the penalties are already there. You already have to pay huge fines. You could see jail time for not paying taxes, but if you're a permanent resident, your whole life is here, your family, your relationships, your job, revoking your permanent, like kicking you out of the country and revoking your residency status is effectively taking away your entire life, which, if that's on top of the other penalties that already are there and apply to everybody, that seems pretty disproportionate to me. A lot of people said, don't worry, in the chat on Twitter said, don't worry about it. It only, they won't apply it to anyone who just, is overdue paying their taxes or whatever. Or incremental breaches of the law. It would have to be like excessive people deliberately trying to tax dodge. And I would hope that that's the case with enforcement as well. But the powers are there, and, there's some discretion for how they can be applied. So to me, I mean, I've been late on taxes before, and I've paid a late fee on it and whatever, and I went up to the tax office and had to go sort it out. So the idea that would be putting my residency status in Japan at risk is kind of terrifying. And like I say, and I had to pay extra tax for being late 1 year. So the idea that why they are suddenly making it more dangerous to be a permanent resident in Japan, I guess. Apparently, they believe that there are some people trying to sort of take advantage, and they want to. Again, the Japanese government has this problem that with a huge elderly population, that they're not collecting enough tax revenue to be able to pay for the welfare of the elderly. And rather than trying to fix the system, they're just trying to squeeze as much as they can out of the current system. Like the whole My Number Card thing is to basically eliminate cash work in Japan so that everything can be tracked and taxed. This is why they're linking this to bank accounts and whatever, so that people, can't basically exchange or earn money without the government getting its cut. And I guess this is another thing with the permanent resident population increasing in Japan. They want to make sure that people are not like taking advantage to earn money overseas and somehow dodge paying taxes in Japan while living here. But I think that's a very, very small percentage. In terms of who it applies to, by the way, someone here was good enough to show who are the permanent residents in Japan. Interesting stat here, actually. For all Vietnamese are now the largest group of foreigners in Japan. That's a very recent trend, and so not many of them are permanent residents. In fact, they're way down 23,000. The largest group of the million or so permanent residents in Japan are Chinese, mainland Chinese, 324,533, followed by Philippines, 138,000, Brazil, 114,000. That's because the Brazilian community were really invited here in the 1990s as labor and so on. So it's kind of funny, the South Korean population, which used to be much, much bigger, they have special permanent residency. These are often multi-generational, people who are the ancestors of people born here in World War II. But lately, what's happening with them, they're getting to be fourth and fifth generation. A lot of them are becoming Japanese citizens, so that's why that number is going down. Peru, 33,253, big Japanese ethnic community, Japanese community in Peru. Taiwan, 24,738, separate to China, of course. Apparently, if you go all the way down the list, and it doesn't quite show up on here, Australia, 3,314. See if there's a country there that interests you. A New Zealand mate on here was good enough to say that there are 1,135 New Zealand permanent residents in Japan, of which I am one. So there we go. I am one of the 1,135, which is like half the size of my high school, if you think about it. Which is interesting. Anyway. So yeah, indeed, there's no. Oh, we got DJ Sunnyside Up. Peace and love from Kochi. Indeed, good to see you in here. Yeah, I agree. It would have to be for severe violations of tax laws. Again, I want to see how it's set out. But it seems like on the one hand, hey, if they screw up, let them punish and suffer the consequences. But on the other hand, it's, when you think about the actual implications for people who are subject to it, it's pretty intense. So I would hope not. But yeah. What about Italy? Let's have a look. Is it on here? I suspect Italy is probably less than Australia, I would guess. I mean, it's not on the list before that. France, 3,574. So I'm guessing probably more than New Zealand and less than Australia would be my guess. But the number is not on here. Someone went and actually looked up and found on the eStat website. So you can go do that yourself if you want to find out. But yeah, anyway, always cool to find out. So we got 7 more minutes, so double time. What else has been going on this week? Oh, yeah, the big one, of course, and not the Apple Vision Pro. Do not wear it while driving a Tesla. Yeah, because someone would definitely try that. Miss Japan. How could I not talk about Miss Japan? So, we've talked about this before with other sort of scandals. I can't show a picture of her without her like face cut off. Miss Japan. So Miss Japan this year got headlines. I mean, first of all, setting aside beauty pageants and whether you're for or against them or whatever. I mean, I think if everyone involved is enjoying, if the women involved are okay with being scored based on their appearance or whatever. I've got people requesting Sweden. I didn't see it on there, but I'd be curious to see. And actually, as Dan H points out, there's quite a large Kurdish, in Saitama, the Kurdish community there is actually sort of making waves in the community up there. But yes, and actually there is a large Iranian community as well. I've met a lot of Iranians, like a lot of the kebab places, the people are Iranians, good people as well, actually. Like I met a lot of really cool people that way, Pakistanis as well. So you're right, Dan H. I feel like I feel like I should go get the full list, but remember, these are permanent residents as well, not just residents. So it's a special category of regular residents, not on permanent residency. You have to be here for like 10 years or be married, and it's quite arduous to get that visa. But there you go. Coming back though, Miss Japan. So if you believe you're the most beautiful person in the country and you can answer questions about educating the children in Iraq and South Africa, and you look good in a swimsuit, of course, we've got Miss Japan. And the Miss Japan organizations are generally run It's always come in for criticism in Japan, actually, primarily because apart from the fact that very few women actually participate in beauty pageants in Japan to begin with, typically people who do are very internationalized, and they are the sorts of people who the people who do well in them are people who are judged, who are scored well by foreign judges. Often it's foreign judges that judge these sort of pageants. And so it's kind of funny. If you ever go to like a bar with Japanese friends and you sort of pick out, you're watching TV and you pick out who's good looking, it's always quite funny. Foreigners tend to go for, or foreigners, people, Westerners, tend to pick out Japanese with sort of more, Japanese would say koi, with sort of more pronounced features. Whereas Japanese tend to like more sort of pale skinned and sort of weak looking, as a general broad statement. The beauty standards are very, very different between, like, for example, America and Europe, even with regards to Asian people, than Japanese have for themselves. So there's been a lot of criticisms that the people who've been picked in previous years for Miss Japan have been sort of like, oh, this is the most beautiful in Japan. Are you kidding me? Although, by Western standards, it's what you would pick is the Bond girl or whatever, if not what the Japanese would pick for themselves. However, this year they decided to, make it. I'm sure she won based on her merits, such as beauty pageants have merits. But it was more about the person who they chose as Miss Japan is actually a naturalized Japanese citizen born in Ukraine. And very beautiful. And I'm sure I didn't see the pageant, so I'm sure she did well on all of the, intellectual agility sections of the competition, and she won. And a lot of people said, oh, Miss Universe being progressive again, recognizing that Japanese can come from different ethnicities and not just be Japanese, and, and a Ukrainian, and what a wonderful statement, all of that. And it was all going kind of well. There was this big sort of debate. Honestly, if you talk to Japanese people, the idea that a naturalized person from different from Ukraine or from New Zealand is not Japanese, at least in Tokyo, or the Japanese that I know, are not as wound up about race as I go to America. Everything's about race in America. Japanese, partly, I guess, because there's so many Japanese, just don't spend a lot of time in the day thinking about race. And in a place like Tokyo, it's pretty like, if you speak Japanese, they'll treat you like Japanese. I mean, seriously. Maybe it's different in country towns or whatever, where they're not as exposed. But it's not really controversial. It's not that controversial. People who choose 120 million people, some people are going to treat it controversially. And if you want to go find people who are outraged, you can find them. But I didn't cover the controversy over her becoming Miss Japan, because I didn't really think it was that big of a deal news-wise. However, it became a big deal news-wise. The reason that I'm talking about it is Miss Japan has had to resign. She's had to give up the tiara, or the crown, or whatever it is, the sash, because it turned out she was caught having an affair with a married man who, by the way, happened to be one of the judges. Setting that aside. And as these scandals always happen in Japan, happened with Becky, and it was ridiculous. So when you have a single woman who is basically decides to have an affair with a married man, the media basically says about the man, well, boys will be boys, and for the woman, and the man who's married and is legally, technically doing adultery, that's okay. But for the other woman, for the single woman who decided to be the partner in the affair, they're the ones who get cancelled. And Miss Universe Japan, who first claimed to not know that he was married, although she admitted later that she knew, but who cares? She's like a single. Why is she being penalized for the man having an affair? She didn't have an affair. She she was the partner in the affair, but the affair was by the man. The man suffers no consequence whatsoever, and she's being forced to step down. And again, even Nichan, even the right wing, internet nerds are basically. In fact, the comments here are not loading. Oh, here they are. But even here, they all sort of recognize. Yeah, 不倫で会場でおっさんが悪いんだよね. They're saying this. Of course, the guy's the one in the wrong, not the woman. But in any case, it always seems to happen with these things. It is the woman who is universally sort of punished for this, which is just ridiculous. So yeah, she's been forced to step down. But again, I mean, what did she do? If anyone's really done anything wrong, it's the guy. But she's the one who's sort of being shamed. And now BBC is covering it, the dramatic story of the unaccepted Ukrainian who became Miss Japan now being shamed for being the other woman in a relationship. It's just kind of stupid. This happened with Becky, and I remember Tinker Ipin, my favorite ramen chain, stopped sponsoring her, and I stopped eating Tinker Ipin for at least like 2 months. Tinker Ipin's really good. I mean, I can't stay away. But I was really upset with Tinker Ipin like punishing Becky for, again, her being single and having an affair, falling in love with a married person. Really, like, is she the one who deserves to be punished? That was ridiculous. So, yeah. The media does that in Japan. Why? I don't know. It's all kind of screwed up. But that was the other big thing this week. It looks like we've actually gotten back 6 days. We did pretty well. There's 2.5 Voyages. We got through the whole week, 2.5 Voyages. It is exactly 11:30 p.m. So, yeah. Eric Bailey, sure, take the wins wherever you can get them. Yes, indeed. Also, Shori Mori, good to see you. Although, no, they do not, and that's immigrants. I don't know. That's honestly, that happens everywhere, and I don't think that's something that necessarily immigrants of a religion do. So I think that's kind of messed up. But there we go. 27 watching, 17 likes. 28 watching, 17 likes. I'm going to wrap up, but if you want to join me for the after show, the link is somewhere. In fact, I'm going to share the link right now. I'm going to have to set up the equipment a little bit. It'll take a moment, but I'm going to play I'm going to be playing the normal sort of, as I said earlier, I've set up all of my music a bit better this week. So it should be a lot of fun. So I'm going to set that up in just a moment and play about an hour of drum and bass music and pop music, and I'll take requests and whatnot. Thank you, everybody, for keeping me company through this week. Remember, I'll be back here same time next week. And yeah. So let me quickly just grab the link to share with you all for the after party, if you want to come join me for that. It's always fun how you can take the copyright violation notices and use that to actually create a playlist on the video after, because they're all time coded, which I do appreciate. So thank you for that, YouTube. Thank you, everybody, for keeping me company every week. Have a good week indeed. Remember, you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, all the things. Oh, by the way, one thing. One of the people who was in the car with me this week actually it has a huge Instagram, and said that they might be interested in, like, they've just set up a YouTube channel for the first time, and it's actually bilingual, and it's travel and stuff like that. It looks really cool. So I might do something this week to plug that channel. So you might see something other than a live stream this week, because yeah, we're sort of talking, it came up that I do YouTube. So that was kind of fun anyway. So yeah, it might be something that you're all interested in. So look out for that video later this week. Other than that, have a good week, and I'm going to switch over onto the music live stream. So check that out. The link is there, and I'll see you soon. Have a good one. Boom. Peace. Any stream.